This week on Chicago Beer Pass, Nick and I are drinking some Pilsner from Argus as we talk about the Deepwood Series release at Revolution. Nick talks about drinking all of the Bourbon County Stouts that are getting released on Black Friday. We talk about a little bit about my trip to Belgium and Spain and all the whiskey that Nick drank this last week. All that and more on this week's episode. Here we are, hitting up events, drinking our way through Chicago beer, and trying not to miss a thing.
Yeah, because, got a cork popped out, boom, it flies like fucking 10 feet. We're like, yeah, let's do it.
All you have to do is add some fruit, stir it up, and ride that milkshake wave.
Whenever I see him, I gotta take a photo with the most decorated brewer in Chicago, Jonathan Cutler.
It'll be like the stuff you hear. You ever go to, every time you go to Floyd's, all the music sounds like this. Raw, raw, raw.
Sometimes you want a small beer, but really, you want a big beer.
You gotta take in all those big aromatic hops.
Hey, what are you doing this weekend? Waiting in line for a bottle release?
You should have never been a fad. The Black IPA is delicious.
Hey, and welcome to Chicago Beer Pass. I'm Brad Chmielewski.
Brad, what's up, man? I'm Nik White.
And we just got done drinking some double barrel stout from Rev.
We forgot to talk about Lioness Stout. I'm like, is that the name of an employee? Who the fuck is that? And he was like, nah, man, that's the lead singer from Thin Lizzy. And I'm like,
okay.
I was like, that's so random. Yeah, man, that's a 17% XO barrel from the fucking Death Star party.
Okay. Keep a lookout on the YouTube channel for that video. The podcast will probably come out before that review does. So, yeah, check that out. And we're still drinking on that. So we will be nice and tipsy probably by the end of this as we drink
I'm feeling all right.
some Lionette Stout. And we're finally diving into our Argus Pilsner.
Dude, we got the stash from the good folks at Argus. They do exist.
Yeah.
We
got quite a little lineup going on here now.
Yeah, man. I like what they said about how the one of the illustrators from Rick and Morty drew their new logo.
Yeah.
They're born again, man.
That's cool.
It's fun to see. What do we got? The Paschke Pils, the Polish Pilsner.
Yeah, and we were hanging on to this because this is beer you can keep in the fridge. You don't have to drink right away. This crawler only lasts 2 weeks.
That coffee's gonna fall off in that D soon.
Yeah, the haze, the Beezer we were drinking a couple weeks ago. Yeah,
changes.
Yeah, so you can hang on to the Pilsner, and today was the day. Probably was perfect because we needed something light to pair with the stout.
Yeah, man. They call this guy Mr. Chicago. So he was born and raised in Chicago. I think he taught classes at Northwestern. He lived in Rogers Park, and he was he was one of these dudes that I actually didn't know much about before I went to Argus. So
that's cool. Yeah, lots of history there. So, and it's a great beer. Hopefully you can kind of find it around more. They're got the new distributor.
Oh, they're on Glenn's now.
Yeah, so you should be able to see it around. I haven't been to the actual liquor store in a while, so I don't know.
I saw the that ginger beer and the double alt.
Oh, cool.
Good pricing too. You can walk out of there $10 later.
Yeah, $10 for a 6-pack in our day of 4-packs or even 2-packs. I know we misspoke last week. The Dino S'mores is going to be in 4-packs, not 2-packs.
No kidding. So it was in 2-packs.
Yeah, it was, right? It was in 2-pack can or bottles, and now it's going to be in 4-packs. So.
Just broke my pen, man.
Oh, no. All right. We're going to keep drinking on this 6-pack because we got a lot to talk about. Nick got after it.
I'm going to try to keep it in check, man. Brad was out of town, like he does, He's
I was in,
he's a man about the world, he likes to travel.
Yeah, I was in Belgium and Spain, so hit up quite a few breweries out there. Had to go to Cantillon.
I hate you.
Went there. Maeve and I rode our Lime scooters to Cantillon. Because that's how we do it.
That's a sight right there, man.
Or roll up. Cantillon, there's a sign for it on the building. You do not know what the door is. There's no hours. I saw somebody walk in.
So it's like the Goose Barrel Warehouse.
Yeah, I saw someone walk in. I was like, my God, is this the door? And I pushed it open. And I was like, nope, that's not the door. This is a worker's place because there was just pallets and beer stacked.
Yeah.
And then we look on Google Maps, this is the right place. This is it. So we go, and that was the door. We go in. This is the most unassuming place ever. There are pallets and just beer stacked everywhere. one dude, old man, working a bar, another person working like a merch table, and then like 10 or 15 tables set up.
And this is one of the world's greatest breweries right here.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like a shithole, but it's just like it's what you would expect from a brewery that's just starting.
It's like very no frills.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you could do a self-guided tour and a guided tour. We didn't have time to do either, so we just drank some beer on tap. We had the Creek on tap, the Magic Lambic on tap, and I want to say just the regular Lambic. I forget the third one we had, but they're like $4 or $5 a pour.
Damn.
Cantillon glasses.
Damn.
It was magical.
I've never been to Zwan's a day, and then Cantillon's something I always seek out on secondary market if I'm trying to like go to like a bottle like a Friendsgiving or something, try to impress somebody.
Yeah.
But that's a bucket list item for me to show up at fucking Cantillon on a scooter.
People are buying like so many bottles to take home. There's so much shirts. There's no hats, so I was like, well, I can't get anything then. But I wasn't checking any bags, so unfortunately, no Cantillon coming back for me. And then the other brewery, we hit up the Delirium Cafe.
Oh, you went to Delirium?
We went to the Delirium Cafe.
Uh-huh.
And
which is like Delirium's like coffee house?
Yeah, it's like they have multiple bars and a street. It is the biggest shithole ever. It looks like a dive bar. We went to the one in the basement. It is, I don't know. There's so many beers, like 140, 200 beers on tap. I think in 2014 they won like a Guinness Book World Records, like 2014 beers on tap. Or you could buy, not on tap, you could buy at this place.
Yeah.
But it's like it felt like an old Chicago bar that's just been there for years, and it's dark and dingy.
When you talk about Belgium, you talk about the Trappist breweries, and you listen to like, some of these brewers in Chicago that, just like they're helpless romantics about some of their visits to Duval and, these kind of places. It's like, it kind of feels like the Belgium scene just hasn't really evolved past like just being like an old-timey kind of old world place, right?
Right. They're crushing it. They're doing fine, and they have no reasons to, like, I don't know, make it pretty, because it works. It's what it is. And
they inspired an entire generation of American brewers.
Yeah.
Just doing that for centuries.
So it's cool and also surprising to see that.
Yeah.
You go into these breweries, like you were talking about Floyd's a few weeks ago or last week, and how amazing the distillery was. And I was talking about Surly, and that's just like this grand place. Cantillon is like a garage. It's
That's interesting.
Weird. And like, what is happening?
I mean, well, dude, you remember Beer Adam, who's apparently, in the Satanic Temple of Chicago Society. We'll get to that. But Beer Adam used to work at Benny's in like 2015 or so.
Yeah.
They had Wes Vleteren come over for the first time, right? So you could buy like these, little bricks of Wes Vleteren. But the point was like, oh yeah, we're just raising money for, our village. Like that's the only reason we're selling beer in America.
Yeah.
And if this doesn't make enough money, we'll make some cheese and we'll make some wine. But they were just like so simple, these simple ideals. Like,
Yeah.
Like this is, it was like number one beer in the world.
But,
And it was, it made an appearance in America once,
Right.
If it was those fucking Americans, it'd have been a totally different rollout, right?
Probably, yeah.
So, yeah, that just speaks to like, I guess who they are kind of.
yeah. And it was weird too. There was like, a ramen shop or like a burger place that like had a sign up there like West Vleteren, Duval. It's like, wait, you guys just have these beers? You're like this crappy burger place on like the corner. It's like a mind fuck kind of thing.
That's wild, man.
And so it was just very unassuming.
Was that your first time to Belgium?
Yeah.
What was first? Did you go Spain or then Belgium?
Yeah, Belgium, Spain, and then Belgium again, and then back.
Nice.
So we had like 2 days layover, so hit up a few breweries each time.
Are people speaking English in Belgium?
Yeah, they speak French, Dutch, and then English. Yeah.
Okay. Right on.
It's so close to France, or it was part of France at some point, right?
Yeah.
I don't know all the
know
history there.
The Linus is kicking in. I know they border France.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember Off Color had a beer. It's like, this beer reminds me of Belgium marketing with France or something he said like that in the description of the beer. And then, like, I know France goes further south, so grapes more prominent, wine's more prominent. Mm-hmm. Belgium's further north. Grapes don't grow as much. Barley grows. they're more into beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
That's it. That's all I got on Belgium.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
And then just a quick thing, a couple Spain breweries were nice, and went to a few beer places there. This place called Garage Brewing. They made a really good haze. I posted on our Instagram.
In Spain?
And, yeah.
Oh, right on.
Soup, it was called. It's made with Mosaic and Citra, just like our lovely
like Le Juice?
Le Juice, yeah.
Right on.
And so, yeah, it was some good drinking out there.
Man. What are you doing? You taking a train from Spain to Belgium or what? What are you doing?
We flew. It was like a 2-hour flight.
2-hour flight.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's not really close.
Yeah, I think you could take the train, because you could take trains to, well, in Belgium you could take trains to Amsterdam and France and stuff. So you could probably take a train, but we flew.
A couple more notes about Belgium. I remember the guy who runs Hop Leaf, Michael Roper, he's a knight because he sells so much Belgian beer that he's a Belgian knight. But then also I was talking to Cliff from Lake Effect, and he told me, Belgium's roughly the size of Maryland, but they have over 400 breweries. So, that's an insane concentration of breweries.
Yeah. It was funny checking into some of these beers on Untapped, and I was like, oh, I've had this beer before in 2013 at the Map Room or at Kaiser Tiger or at Hop Leaf. And it's like, this is super weird, and just no one's drinking these beers as much here.
Yeah, because it sounds like a lot of those places, if you're at a beer bar over there and they have Cantillon on tap, if they don't have the glass because they're using them all, they won't sell you the beer. But then also, it's so concentrated. If you're in one part of Belgium, you won't be able to get the beers on another side of Belgium because there's just there's a lot going on. There's too much. You can't. So a place like Hop Leaf is actually kind of cool place because you can get them from all over. You'd have more beers there.
Yeah, it's just always funny to go over out of the country and be like, I've had these beers and I can get them. I'm not that interested in having this one, or let's have a different one. So
yeah,
it's cool.
Man,
it was a good trip. Yeah,
that sounds like fun, man.
You got after it. You were just posting like crazy, going to tons of things.
I'm like, Brad left me, man. I gotta wave the flag, man. So we're not gonna do that hour thing like we did before.
Yeah, right. Buckle up, everyone. I got questions. I want to know.
Man, shout out to
what was happening at Steam Hollow.
Yeah, man. I went back to the Mousetrap. Shout out to the Mousetrap. They the I Am Craft Beer event was there.
Nice.
This week. So they poured everyone samples of up and away, far and away.
Very, very far.
Fuck. I do. Yeah, very, very far.
I was like, what is this beer? I haven't had this one.
Yeah, and then our guy Alex Miramontes has been on the show. He was chilling at the bar, so I'm like, dude, I'm looking at this list. You got to tell me what to get. He pointed me in the right direction. You had Miscellanea, I think.
Number 1, because Alex said it was really good, and so did Ben when I was there.
Yeah, I had a Signet, which I believe is of the Foeder beers on. That's the one that's been aging in barrels the longest.
Okay.
So there's a Signet from 2 years, and and then we went on a tour with Ben from the Mousetrap.
Cool.
So and he runs their social media. Mm-hmm. He's pretty cool, big red beard guy. Mm-hmm. And yeah, this place is great, man. They talked about their philosophy a little bit and how they want to incorporate yeast as a main ingredient. Because most of what you taste is yeast, and in last 5 plus years, it's all about the hops. But they kind of want to focus on a time period where hops were just more of a integral component versus the dominant flavor. So they want to pull flavors. They were talking about very, very far. Very, very far in particular, and how it pulls out pineapple and it pulls out lemon, but there's nothing in that beer but the 4 main ingredients.
Tell them we weren't feeling it.
I like it. It's reminiscent of what do we say? Whatever it's reminiscent of one of the Canadian.
Fin de Man.
Yeah, it's reminiscent of that. But yeah, it was nice to get a little, philosophy talk from the good folks at Off Color. So apparently, Troublesome, the blended goes, is 75% of their sales, and they talked about Allagash White being 75% of Allagash's sales, and Daisy Cutter was the same for Half Acre. And their struggle, I think Metropolitan taught Off Color that, hey, it's more important to be good at the things that you want to make versus being good at making trendy beers. Make a good beer, but then make the shit you want to make. Okay. So they said when it was time to look for a new space, leaving the other brewery behind and making Troublesome just there and having this playground was like a huge piece of them expanding. Like they didn't want to be. The playground is the mousetrap is the house that Troublesome built, essentially, right?
Nice.
So they have these Italian fooders, Barolo fooders that are like 45 gallons each, and there's like 4 of them, and every beer on draft was, one of these beers. They talk about how this fooder held cider, and then we put beer on top of it, and then we drained it 75%, and then we put more wort on it, and that wort was activated by the current cider fermenting in there. Like all these blends of things, right?
Right. Weird mad scientist stuff.
Right. And, they're giving a lot of credit to John Lafleur. Like he throws something in, and right away he knows what it's going to do in a year and what it'll do in 18
That's cool.
months. So
Did you find out the Green Mouse name?
fuck, I did not. So
Man.
yeah, man. Because they were really going on and on about these barrels and about these blends, and I was just kind of like, man, I'm kind of in awe. But it was a good stop.
Cool.
So cheers to those guys. And you were just there, so
Yeah. A
was
good
like-
turnout for I Am Craft Beer.
that was fun. So right when you walk in, there was a whole reserve section of like the first 5 or 6 tables. Yeah, so we talked to Liz Garibay a little bit. She's on the Chicago Museum side. Their event's coming up this weekend. I forgot about And yeah, we just got to meet people that meet people we never knew.
Oh, cool.
And I think for me, like that's been the point of the I Am Craft Beer thing. It's like, hey, I'm hanging out with some cats that I would see at a bar and otherwise not fucking talk to.
Yeah.
And they probably would do the same for me, even though we might look alike. It's kind of weird.
Okay.
But it was this dude kind of looks like somebody I know, but we wouldn't fucking talk. And I Am Craft Beer does that, which
That's awesome.
That part I dig.
Nice.
Yeah. So, whew.
All right. So that was your first little stop.
How we doing, man? We're doing good, man. Yeah. Cheers to the good folks at Maker's Mark. The black.
The whiskey?
The whiskey. 2 whiskey events. 2 whiskey events this week. One was Angel's Envy. The other one was a Black Bourbon Society event.
How are you still standing? I guess
Dude,
you're
it's been like a
sitting
fucking
now,
6-day bender. We're talking about what's going on this weekend. I'm like, fuck. Yeah, so this was in Hyde Park at Virtue, which is Eric Williams' place. They had a beer dinner celebrating this variant of Maker's 46. That it's basically a private select Black Bourbon Society pick that took a double gold at the San Francisco Spirit Competition back in April. So nice. I think double gold is the highest standard you can get. So the way I get it, Maker's 46 is like the it's not the baseline Maker's. Maker's 46 is already like a maybe 6 to 8 year blend of Maker's Mark, where the standard Maker's Mark is like 4 years. And then they have this private select program where you can pick from 5 different barrel staves and create your own variant on their 46 brand.
Okay.
So these guys picked the most popular stave was Mocha, but they left that one out, and they picked like French Oak and like 4 others, and they created this blend and submitted it to this competition,
cool.
and they won. So it was a celebration dinner based on that.
Nice. I haven't had Maker's whiskey in a long time. Like it's. I don't know, probably like my go-to like default would be like Buffalo Trace or something like that. I just don't. I haven't had Maker's in a while.
The red wax is iconic.
Yeah.
They're one of the newer ones on the trail. And actually when you go down there, I think my favorite ones, I didn't hit them all. One of my 3 favorite spots might have been Heaven Hill, Buffalo Trace, and Maker's Mark. Oh, it was shout out to Four Roses because that was fun too. Maker's Mark is the most aesthetically pleasing one. It's like this mansion on a hillside that has a fucking distillery on it, basically, right? And it's really cool. So I went to that. That was at Virtue in Hyde Park. And then I went to the Franklin Room, which is in River North. I've never heard of this joint. It's a whiskey bar with 400 whiskeys. They're basically like the Delilahs of the River North, right?
Okay.
And Angel's Envy was in town. Angel's Envy's debuting their 2019 lineup.
Okay.
So there's 3. There's Angel's Envy, then there's the Angel's Envy Rye, and then there's an Angel's Envy and rum cask, right? So I got to
sounds pretty good.
hang out with those cats. So I told him about my bourbon trail experience. He's like, "Where'd you stay?" I'm like, "Louisville." He's like, "We're in fucking Louisville." I'm like, "No, you're not." He's like, "Dude, we've been in Louisville the whole time." So it's like this guy who was a longtime distiller, Lincoln Anderson.
Not the Lincoln Anderson who used to work at Three Floyds.
Not him. But he broke off and did his own thing, and this was like 2012, and they can't call it bourbon whiskey. They have to call it blended whiskey because it's finished in port cask in most cases. It's finished in a cask that's not the original cask.
Okay.
Because the two rules on whiskey are like, hey, it has to be American oak, new American oak,
Right.
and it can't be used, and it's got to be at least 4 years. But then they finish all of theirs, so they were really kind of ushering in this not a new idea, but a new standard for Kentucky whiskey.
Interesting.
And that's what separated them.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I'm gonna post about that. All right, making good time, man.
Couple good whiskey events. Nice.
Couple good whiskey events. Then we landed at Revolution, man.
So we're slowly making it through this big ass stout. We're not going to dive into these right now, but
Yeah,
these would, these would kick our ass.
dude. Death Star is upon us, man.
This was week 1
Yes,
of the events.
yes, and this will be the only 2-day launch.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is Death Star, Death by Plums, and Cafe Death.
Okay.
Yeah, so Death by Plums is the new one, to the lineup. Yeah, you know what they said was that on the can it says something about how the how the Chinese and other dynasties, they feasted on these plums, right? Plums were, plums gave plums led to. I'm sorry.
You know a lot of history about plums, but you don't know what a plum is.
In the video version, I was expressing that I've been asking all week, what the fuck's a plum? Is it a grape? Fucking apricot, right? But they're like, the Chinese believed that it led to immortality and shit like that, right?
Okay.
So they put that on the can a little bit. They put that on the can. So then the FDA got involved and they're like, yeah, man, you can't make any health claims on the fucking beer. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And they're like, what the health claim? Like immortality. You can't say it. It'll make you immortal. It's like immortality is not a health claim.
I don't know. There's not a lot of smart people around these days.
So yeah, man. Cheers to John Carruthers, man. We hung out with him. Dude, he's Mambacue John. So Mambacue is 3 dudes. One John's at Cicerone,
Right.
And then there's Jesse who's
at
at
Goose.
Goose, and he's the 3rd Mambacue dude. I didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Yeah.
We were hanging out with a guy that was like, that dude used to be a Mambacue, and I'm like, no shit, that's him. And I'm like, are that you? He's like, that's me.
Oh, crazy.
I didn't know that. So we're supposed to hang out with them. So I'm excited about that now. Yeah. The key to this party, man, the jewel of this party is the fucking tap list.
Okay.
So they got busy on the tap list. Supermassive, that's the 14% infused coffee, like triple coffee infused version of Cafe Death.
Nice. What coffee are they using?
They're using dark matter coffee.
Okay.
I don't know what bean though.
Okay.
Yeah. As Brad throws him to the ground in disgust.
Forget these plums.
What the fuck do you mean? Yeah. Oh, Maple Death was on. I was most excited about Maple Death, but because we heard about it at Oktoberfest, it was a little too cloyingly sweet for my taste.
Okay.
Like it was the one I think I finished last. I had Cafe Death in a can. I didn't really appreciate it till I had this super massive Death, and I was like, oh shit, this is really nice. It's like a Cafe Death's like a light version of Supermassive Death. It's great. That's great.
What is it, like 14% less version?
Yeah. I do want to say, like, man, they had limited, what do you call it? It was called Limited Death Star. And it was just certain barrels of Death Star that they decided to blend in one barrel that had certain characteristics. And, I think VSOJ is really one of the best beers ever come out of Chicago because after 2 years in a barrel, it does this weird thing where it just picks up all this coconut and vanilla after 2 years, right? So they had the limited Death Star was reminiscent of that. Like it had spent like so much time in the barrel that it became what you would know to be an adjunct stout without adding anything to it. Mm-hmm. It just had this really cool layered effect that I really dug. And it's just like, no, these barrels were picking up these notes. So we identified those notes and put them all in one fucking batch. And I'm like, that's dope. Yeah. So cheers to those guys, man. Yeah. Rev Barrels on fucking Twitter. Marty Scott.
And then we're going to be over there next week doing a podcast.
Is that next week?
That's next week, right?
Oh, man. Oh boy.
So we're gonna be back. We're drinking them all again, I'm sure, or seeing what's up.
I think Death Star is 25 for the 4-pack. Cafe Deeth is 30, and Death by Plums
40.
40. Yeah.
Well, they do immortality.
I mean, dude,
I guess if you drank all 4, you probably would think that for sure.
you're gonna feel immortal for like
at least that night.
At least
morning, you're gonna wish you died.
at least for half a day, you get that immortality in. Oh man, one more note about their party, man. So one of the guys who works there, I think he said he was gonna take a job at Phase 3, but he didn't. So anyway, there's a employee beer on that is apparently a blend of like Phase 3 and Death Star.
Oh.
The fucking Curvature, the hazelnut one.
Oh, good.
And I'm like, what the fuck? Where's that? They're like, no, it's an employee beer.
Oh.
So I'm like,
maybe next week.
I'm like, dude,
Let's be our
what
goal.
do you mean it's an employee beer? And they were kind of like saying, well, we rocked so hard the whole season that it didn't make sense. We're such a small crew. It didn't make sense to have a party for this beer, taking away from our Deepwood series. It takes the attention away from that a little bit.
Okay.
So because they're rolling parties every month, and they're rolling out beer every month, like in packaging. So that kind of made sense. So they're kind of hopeful that it'll come out again in 2020 as a standalone launch, separate from the Deepwood series.
Okay.
Yeah, but dude, I started wagging my tail when I heard that shit. I'm like, wait, Curvature and Death Star, what the fuck?
Yeah, that sounds good. All right. Whew.
Yeah, man.
So that was your Friday night, and then, you went out to the burbs.
Go see the old boy.
Yeah.
I ran out of gas getting to this.
What? Yeah, I could see that. You have to stop at the rest stop, call, you can find a payphone.
I'm like, how many dead animals are there on this road, man? No, we went out to Steam Hollow in Mantina to see our guy Josh Riley from the Kankakee Journal. He knew this couple, like Mr. and Mrs. White. They're the owners of this brewery that's been around since like February, Steam Hollow. Mm-hmm. And so Mantino's in Kankakee County. This is only the second brewery in Kankakee County,
right?
Behind Brickstone.
Right.
Yeah. So Josh knew them when they were homebrewers, and this guy brewed a beer named after Josh's daughter, Penelope. So, it was like Penny's Pale Ale or something like that. So he's like, hey, man, I'm making that beer again. We're making it on the big system. We're putting it in the cans. You need to come fucking party. And that's how we ended up out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was the beer? How was Steam Hollow?
They had a German lager called Piddle. It was something about Piddle. Let me look it up.
Piddle lager?
And I was like, I'll get the Piddle beer. And he thought I meant the penny beer, so he gave me a German lager.
Oh, okay.
When I first got there, and that beer was great.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that night there was a cover band doing like 80s cover. Oh, but this place is huge. This place is reminiscent of Red Kedzie. I would say it's maybe like
really?
half the size.
I guess it's not. You can get a lot of space out there.
Right. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, this place looks great. There's pallets on each sides of the wall. It's all wood. It's all wood driven. Like ceilings are maybe like 20, 30 feet.
Okay.
And some good acoustics in this joint. It's nice. Oh, so the Mr. White, the guy who's the head brewer, he's like, yeah, man, we ran all these pallets up ourselves, and we were pouring the concrete, and some guy saw us, and he offered us some of his tools, and then we got this thing rolling. I think what they've done is like they'll grow into their beer situation, right? Because they just launched, but the space and then the fact that this place is packed on a Saturday night is really cool. It's really cool to see.
Yeah.
So, and it's a nice little 1-2 step if you're in Brickstone.
Or in Bourbonnais.
You
can go to Brickstone, yeah.
So they're 23 miles south of the fucking hailstorm. Right.
Okay, so not that far once you're that far.
I mean, it's 23 miles. So 23 miles is like us going to fucking hailstorm.
Yeah. So you gotta do another.
Then you gotta go another 23 miles. Yeah.
I see why you ran out of gas.
I was like, dude, I gotta get off this highway. I can't even go straight there. It was fun though, man. So cheers to Steam Hollow. Cheers to Josh Riley.
I know there was ridiculousness of photos. I think from you, from Afro Beer Trick, just getting posted of you, then Josh Riley doing who knows what.
We sing all the songs. It reminds me of Sox Fest when there was some big cover band playing, and like we know every song. We're just gonna act out. It was great. I had a good time, man. It was fun. Yeah. All right. So that was that.
Okay.
And then It is Goose Island Bourbon County Stout season.
Yes, it is.
This is slowly becoming one of my favorite traditions, man. Because we went last year, and it was
No, we went 2 years ago, right? Was it last?
that was last year.
Oh,
right?
that was only. I thought it was 2 years ago.
We went last year. Brad and I were there, and it was at Clybourne.
Oh, yeah.
And then Brad brought the equipment, so then we recorded like an impromptu like pod on the scene.
Yeah.
So this is a media preview for BCS.
And I dropped the ball. I couldn't. I got back into town last night, so I just couldn't make it over there.
I'm like, dude, so I had to wave the flag. You know, I was there, and then it wasn't at Clybourne. It was at the Barrel Warehouse.
Oh, cool.
So it rotates.
That room is super nice. That
It's-
where we recorded the podcast with what's his name?
Yeah, the former brewmaster.
Right.
He's
Out in Wisconsin now.
fuck.
Yeah, I forget his name. I'm blanking on his name.
Honking
Sorry.
all right. He's honking all right on Twitter.
Yeah.
He's God damn it, Brad. He's the former Goose Island brewmaster. He's the current brewmaster up in Wisconsin at
Potts?
Octopi.
Octopi.
At
Yeah.
Octopi.
I was like Potts for some reason.
Jared Jankowski.
Yeah, there we go. We got there. We got there.
Yeah. Jared Jankowski, man. I remember in the post game for that episode, he was telling us how as a kid he would collect these his dad's beer cans, you know, that were empty, but then he like fell in love with these cans and the designs on the cans, and it really like kind of inspired him to go fucking dig into beer. He ended up studying fermentation in college, and he ended up being the brewmaster of Goose Island in part because as a kid he fell in love with the artwork on fucking beer cans. Yeah, man, fucking Goose Island, man.
We're both rocking goose gear.
I got the
today,
Carhartt speckled goose joint. I don't know what you call this, and Brad's rocking the
312 hat that you got at Hoptacular, Beer
yeah.
Hoptacular.
Yeah. You know, serious love-hate relationship with the good folks of Goose Island. But dude, they acted a goddamn fool at this thing. Let me tell you, Brad. Yeah, man. So, the reason I like it is because, like, well, this year we were doing the FoBAB fantasy draft. You know, we happened to be on our phones doing it that night. But then one night it was really cool because it was game one of the World Series that the Cubs were in.
Okay.
And it was their first World Series
Yeah.
forever, right? So, you know, it's an annual fall dinner.
Sure.
Yeah, that we really like.
Cool.
Oh, and then we get to try BCS like a month before Black Friday.
No, that was like the best thing about it last year. It was like, oh, well, now I got to have all these, so I definitely don't have to go wait in line for them.
Yeah. And, you know, their process has changed. That's the thing you notice the most. But then also you get to, they really like stories. So you get to hear all these stories about how they arrived at these particular ones, or, you know, through the trials. They do trials every year to land on the final 8. The last couple of years has been 8. So, yeah, let's run through them. Mm-hmm. There's wheat wine, first of all. Last year, that was Greg Hall's favorite. He was like, wheat wine all day. Capital letters on his Twitter account.
Okay.
It
There's
is
regular.
Yeah, there's regular. Yeah. After that, it gets a little tricky. So after that is Reserve Rye.
Reserve wine. Okay.
That's the debut beer, Reserve Rye.
Because last year there was just reserve.
Right. So then this year, instead of Reserve, there's 2-year Reserve.
Okay.
Exact same beer, just in the second year.
So, same bottle? Like,
The exact same fucking beer.
okay.
Yeah.
Like they didn't sell enough, so it's still just like
So they're like, you get back in there.
yeah, push you again.
What do you mean?
Just put 2-year on it.
Yeah,
People think-
2-year Rye.
Okay.
Then there is
This double barrel.
Double Barrel, which is a cult favorite, man. Like Double Barrel's been on at the tap room for a few years at least.
Okay.
And there's Prop. And
Okay. Because there's a prop day.
yeah, there's a Prop Day.
So that's
and then,
6.
Yeah, and then there's 2 new ones.
Okay.
So one is Moncherie, and then the other one is Cafe Diola. We got them all right.
Okay.
We were trying to do this at Rev's party, and we had to look the shit up.
So what's Moncherie?
Okay.
What is Moncherie a ingredient? Is it a
It's
place?
It's a Stevie Wonder song. It's quite nice. Mon Cherie, it's confusing because it's a purple label. Mon Cherie just means my love. So like the brewer who, won the recipe, him and his wife have an affinity towards France, and then they love each other, shit like that.
Okay. So what's in it?
What's in it? It's BCS. These are all OG BCS. This one has cherries, granola, oats, and brown sugar.
Okay.
So they're going for that cherry pie vibe. This is this year's version of like Northwoods, for example, right? Whereas, yeah.
And then what's
not my favorite?
Yeah, it sounds. I was boring.
It's not. Well, it doesn't have the cohesion of like that Banana Foster's prop a few years ago, where these flavors just all work together so perfectly. This is kind of like I don't want to say forced, but there's like a noticeable tart cherry like right in the middle and towards the back of this Bourbon County, and it's fine. But is it better than OG Bourbon County? No.
Okay.
So it's like, and if you can't take it higher than the OG with your final presentation, then it's just kind of like, that's cool, whatever.
Yeah. So then what's in the last one there?
Oh, Cafe Diola.
Yeah.
Cafe Diola I thought was really good because it was reminiscent of Midnight Orange. So Cafe Diola is it's BCS with coffee, cassia bark, orange peel, and vanilla sugar added. So where Midnight Orange is kind of like it's a dessert beer with like orange peel, right?
Yeah.
And chocolate added, right? Cassia, I'm sorry, not Cassia, but Cafe Diola is this year's coffee stout, right? Where it's a coffee beer first, and then it goes into these waves of like orange just to clean things up and make things dry a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's modeled after like it reminds you of being on vacation. Like it reminds me of being in Puerto Rico, sitting out front of a coffee shop.
How was that one?
That was in my top four. My top four were probably OG, Cafe Diola. The double barrel is fucking ridiculous.
Okay.
And then probably the Rye Reserve.
All right.
I think that was my top four. Mm-hmm. A lot of folks there really like the 2-year reserve. But see, we're kind of spoiled because we talked about the magic that is VSOJ, one of the 5 greatest beers in Chicago history, in my opinion. And it's all because of 2 years in a barrel, right? Even some of the indignant stuff that Pete Crowley does at Haymarket, it's like when it goes 2 years, it creates those flavors that are just kind of like, it reminds you of a dessert stout without having those components.
Yeah.
With the 2-year reserve, I thought it kind of felt very leathery. It was reminiscent more of a peated Scotch than like your natural coconut and vanilla flavors.
Okay.
So it was good. It had all the fudge and chocolate of BCS, but then it stood up and was really firm with these very earthy, very woodsy notes. Even on the nose was very aggressive for me with like Scotch.
Okay.
It was reminiscent of a single malt Scotch for me.
Yeah.
Not in peatiness, but just in all those other mineral ways,
Okay.
That was me.
Yeah, it's interesting you said like the double barrel is your favorite. I do remember having the triple barrel at 312 Black Party, and that was amazing. So.
Yeah, this is the first time they put a BCS this big in a bottle. This one's 18%.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if any of these at 312 had ABVs on them. They were just kind of, this is what it is.
Like, here you go.
Because there was that Shamrock, there was the Rumba, had the triple barrel, there was oatmeal stout. So it's funny that these 8 are the best. And then like a couple weeks ago, I had a Fernet BCS.
Yes, Fernet was there. Fernet was.
Fernet was at the event.
Yeah, this was in the after party at
Okay.
the event. Yeah, Fernet was there.
Fernet's okay.
It's full on. It's minty and woodsy.
Oh, I get black. You get that black
And
licorice. Shit.
black licorice.
That's a Fernet, yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
I just got a little sip of that, like little 4 ounces.
like the stuff for the Deepwood series stuff.
Yeah.
Goose is also playing with a lot of variants that you can get here in Chicago that you can find on tap at random places. So it's kind of fun like that.
They're going head to head, man. Like if we pull up the the Death Star lineup here, right? They're rolling 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. God damn, they're rolling 10 beers.
Yeah.
And they're stretching it out till January. But they're rolling 10 beers. Goose is rolling 8. So they're neck and neck. What was I gonna say? Oh, they focused this year a lot on telling the story about the barrel. Well, they've done that before. Cheers to Sergio and Ken. They do a good job of telling the story of the source bourbon. So one of the Heaven Hill guys was there.
Oh, cool.
So Heaven Hill. Now I didn't know a lot about Heaven Hill. I know that the Bourbon County Rare from 2015 was these lost, like 20-year-old. I always point to the wall when I'm talking. I think I'm a fucking weatherman. Like nobody's even looking, But like the Heaven Hill 20-year barrel was Bourbon County Rare from a few years ago, 2015 at the OG. But they lost those barrels. We found these barrels. They're 20 years old. Do you want them? That was that story. This year they talked about the Heaven Hill lineup and all the variants in the lineup on the source bourbon side. So, for example, Wheat Wine is aged in Larceny barrels, which is one of their brands. And he's the guy before the tasting. He was really excited about Heaven Hill 7-year. He's like, yeah, we got this Heaven Hill 7-year project coming out. It's gonna hit Chicago soon. He don't talk like that. But I was like, well, what's Heaven Hill 4-year? That's usually 4 years is standard.
Yeah.
What's your base offering? He's like, oh, that's Evan Williams. I'm like, so I didn't know that, right? So there's Larceny, there's Evan Williams. Elijah Craig is one of their barrels. Elijah Craig is what the double barrel was aged in.
Okay.
So they quit calling Elijah Craig 11-year. They started calling it small batch because it's a mix of 11 and 12.
Okay.
So they gave Goose those barrels. Goose said, 8 months in a 11-year and 8 months in a 12-year.
Did you get to have any of the whiskey? Because Goose has the whiskey that they picked the barrel from. There's a Goose Island. It's either a Heaven Hill or Elijah Craig whiskey, right?
Yeah, and they have a Goose Island Select Larceny too.
Yeah.
We did not drink the source whiskey. Fuck, I should have took more photos of the whiskey barrels.
That source whiskey is good.
I mean, I give them a lot of credit for, we were talking about this on the way in today. It was like, man, bourbon barrel aged beer in the modern context didn't exist before Goose Island. Yeah. There were always beers in the fucking barrels because, you put it in wood before you had it in kegs. But we're talking modern day barrel aged beer. That didn't exist before Goose. So they deserve a lot of credit because I'm into bourbon because of beer,
Sure.
So this was great, man. One note on the Rittenhouse Rye is that it's got a level 5 char on the barrel where everything else has a level 3 char.
Okay.
And you really notice that it's cask strength. This is on the Rittenhouse Rye. So this would be reserve rye from this year. It's got a very pronounced char note in it. Those beers are like bold and firm and they finish like BCS, but they do all these other bourbon moves, right? Like we talk caramel and toffee and vanilla all the time, but these I'm talking like straight up oak, straight up like really earthy beers. Damn. They're good. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, blown up. We got phone in. Call in on the podcast.
Caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, I just want to know, did you guys sell out?
No. What is wrong with me, man?
So if you had, I like the price point. Like Goose, like is kind of you're buying one bottle about $20, right? When it's said and done at the store, at most stores, right?
Yeah.
So $40 for Death by Plums, that's a lot for that decision to be like you get 4 versus 20 for 1. But
the Goose is the 16.9 ounce bottle. I forget what the name of that size is.
Yeah.
So you get a little more, but yeah. So that's a 12 ounce can for $10, or you can pay $15 for the 16.9 ounce.
Yeah.
Or $20 for the 16.9 ounce.
Yeah.
If you're getting prop or any of these other ones that come in a box this year, you're paying $20 for 16.9 ounces. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's good that they're different, right? That they're not like competing on the price point and the beer.
Yeah. Cheers to Keith Gabbett, Mr. Keith Gabbett. He's the brewmaster now.
Okay.
Over Goose, he's a 10-year vet. He was when I went to Elk Mountain way back 5-6 years ago. He was there. He's one of their longest tenured brewers. So he led the tasting. His wife actually came up with one of the sour beers.
Oh, cool.
The one with the white pepper in it. Man, what was the name of it? Jillian.
Pepper? No, Jillian. Yeah.
Yeah, his wife came up with Jillian. Jillian was based on a strawberry sorbet dessert with white pepper in it.
Okay.
Yeah, his wife came up with that, and he's super cool. I just like seeing him. I'm excited that he's a brewmaster now.
That's so.
Cheers to Iron Chef Stephanie Izard from Girl and the Goat.
Yeah.
Goat Catering. They are the exclusive caterer of that facility, of the Goose Barrel Warehouse.
Oh, interesting.
So Goose Barrel Warehouse ain't open to the public. You can you can throw an event there and you can party there.
So is there food there?
There was food. There was hors d'oeuvres.
Was
quite
Gary Valentine there too?
Gary Valentine was not there.
Okay.
And Steph was there. It was like, we're here to confirm that Stephanie was here and she did participate in the food that you guys are eating, but she had to split.
Sure. All right. We believe you.
Yeah. So like serve yourself kind of thing on both sides, the hors d'oeuvres,
Nice.
and then it was a taco bar. I'm talking like, yeah, it was nice. It was real nice. The president, Todd Ashman, he kind of talked about the space we were in and how, there's a spot near Hopleaf. It's a company that reclaims old subway equipment, right? So all the tiles and all the lighting that you see used to reside in like the Blue Line, right? These are the actual tiles from the Blue Line because they were like, hey, let's have a
Like in the bathroom and stuff?
Yeah, no, like in the whole space, like in that dining hall and in the hallway on the way to the
Okay.
bathroom.
I don't even remember the bathroom having tile, but
Yeah, and it was like, we don't want to have it be like a vineyard, like a winery from California. We don't really want it to look like, Cantillon or some of these gorgeous like breweries and
Cantillon doesn't look
like you
nice.
said, it's not gorgeous. But so we don't want it to look like a Belgian brewery and we don't want it to look like a winery.
okay.
Let's make it look like somewhere between like, like a CTA station and a brewery and a winery, right? Oh, so anyway, he was like, but these reclaimed like tiles and wood all comes from this spot up in Andersonville.
Cool.
It's a nice space. It feels like a winery that is home to a brewery. That's how it feels like to me when I'm there.
Nice. Okay. And the old Clybourne bar is there, right?
Yeah, man. So he told the story about how Andy Goler, Andy Goler was the guy that made Shot Talk famous. So he came from the AB side after they sold, and he ran Goose for a minute, and he hated that Goose had this warehouse full of merchandising stuff. So he's always getting on them, clean up this fucking warehouse for all this merchandise stuff. I hate this room. So he's like, all right, fine, we'll clean the room. So they just made a clean room and kept it clean, right? And like, look, this is our merchandise room. It's so clean, right? But then realized it was a mock room, and the actual merchandising room was just a completely other section.
Okay.
And in that room, they rebuilt the bar from Clybourne.
Okay. Does that also have that half pipe in there?
Yeah, the half pipes in there.
Because Gooseneck did all the art behind there too.
Those are cool. And Fulton across the street from Fulton, this is the same style gooseneck.
Oh yeah.
There's a gigantic White Sox flag in this room. Let's go White Sox.
Okay.
It's quite nice.
Well, they got that Sox beer now.
Yeah, they got the beer for Sox Park, and then they also have seats from Old Comiskey Park in there.
Okay.
So this was great. So here I am. Because let's be honest, man, Goose sold out, in 2015. They kind of ushered in this era of brewers selling out. Prior to that, if you lived in Chicago, like for me, like when I first started to learn about beer, it was at that bar in Clybourne, and it was at that bar that the first ever Bourbon County Stout was ever consumed, right? So this is like, we're talking 30 years of beer history in Chicago. We're talking Chicago Beer Society. We're talking about the whole idea of driving your ass down to Kentucky and getting these bourbon barrels and creating this whole movement that is now a standard at most breweries. Every brewery has a barrel program. That didn't happen in '88, right? So I'm sitting at this bar losing my shit. I'm like, dude, I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Crying.
They said when John Hall first saw it, that he just started breaking down, because he was 40 when they started, so he's got to be pushing 70 now. So it was cool. I mean, it's hard for me to hate these guys. We talk about love, hate, but like, they bring a sense of elegance. They bring a sense of style that we hadn't seen before. They're the oldest brewery in town. Everybody that was in play when Goose started, it came and went, right? There were 5 or 6 breweries rolling in 1988. The only one still around is Goose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my favorite part. We're drinking Honker's Ale, Goose's flagship beer, that John Hall's wife named. We're drinking that beer on draft at the original bar at Clybourne.
Yeah. No, I think
joint.
they have in the last year and a half have done a good job really realizing they need to make sure Goose is Chicago.
Yeah.
Because when you go to a pub in another city, you want like a little piece of Chicago, or be like, I want to know that like this beer. It might not be from Chicago, but it has a theme, or I feel that. So
It has an international recognition that
Right.
that name.
and
that
you don't
town.
want it to just be shock top, like
Yeah.
that. This is whatever. You don't care about it. You need to care about the brand, and so they have really been pushing that care. And this is Chicago's beer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, man. Chicago's a living, breathing museum.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that was on display at Claiborne, or at the Claiborne Bar,
yeah,
at the Barrel Warehouse.
Nice.
It was a good time, man. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
man.
That shit was cool, man.
All right. So was that it? That was your last night? That was an epic week?
Goddamn, Brad. Yeah, let's talk about our misses.
Okay.
Maplewood had their pug day. So I actually tried to go to this, and I couldn't because it's a lounge, and you can't overpack the lounge. And there was, I counted, there were 35 people outside, and a lot of them had dogs.
Right.
You could
What's like the dog that you can?
This Maplewood Pug Day. They released.
No, but like, what's the fire code on like dogs versus people in that place? Right?
Dude, there ain't no way I'm getting in this joint. It is lick your dog in the mouth day at the Maple Room, and we're shit
That's
out of
too
luck.
loud. It's too loud in there for a dog. Don't bring your dog.
But they were letting you take pictures with your dog.
If you have a dog, you can always take pictures with your dog.
You know, fancy pictures.
Oh, okay.
Fancy pictures at a brewery.
No one stops you at home to take a picture of your dog. You can't do that.
I regret I missed this in part because Coconut Cuppa went on at 6 p.m.
Okay, not for the pugs, but for the cuppa.
Yeah, Pug's not my... Pug's a heavy breathing ass dog. And it's not my favorite dog. Let's just be honest, Brad.
All right.
So I ended up in Metro with Josh Riley. He had a bunch of... he had some Scottish folks in town.
Okay.
He's in that weird band where they do like 1 minute long songs. There's a name for this thing.
Oh, yeah. Is he in like a grindcore or hard?
Something
Yeah.
like that. So they were in town. Yeah. My favorite line from that we were supposed to go to Maplewood, we couldn't, so we ended up at like Metropolitan, which I'm gonna talk about. Then we ended up at fucking at Emporium and Furious Spoon.
Yeah.
So I guess one of the Scottish dudes was like, "Yo, this ramen is good, but it's so wet."
What?
Like it's fucking soup. What are you talking about? It's so wet. I was like, that's. And then his car broke down taking these Scottish cats to the airport, and that's why I had to go get his fucking his Rev beer, and that's how I ended up in Mantino. It was funny though, man. I was like, this soup is wet. Is it? Is it wet?
Okay. I don't know what your lack of plum knowledge, or they're thinking ramen's too wet. I don't know.
Yeah, that was all a ruse, so you guys can forget that I don't know what the fuck plums are. So we ended up at Metro.
Yeah.
On Christopher Columbus Day.
Okay.
Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yeah, I thought
Christopher
yeah.
Columbus. That motherfucker.
I went to the Christopher Columbus. I went into the monument when I was in Spain because he's from Spain.
He is Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have a monument. I went up inside of it.
He called and said, "Man, there's all these native people
Christopher
over
Columbus?
here." Yeah.
Oh.
What did I say?
He called.
He didn't call. He wrote a letter, or he went back and stood in front of court and was like, "Man, I need some more money, man. These motherfuckers are doing some really cool shit over here. Let's give them all diseases and let's kill them all and let's take over this fucking town." So the Spanish were like, "Done. Here's a blank check. Go kill them." Yeah. So
I don't think so.
I'm trying to tell you, Brad. It was the only part I got wrong was the phone call. Other shit happened. Hey, listen. We happen to be at Metro on Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yeah.
It's the busiest day of the year for them because they're debuting an apple smoked bock from the Adversary. The Adversary, Brad, is the Satanic Temple of Chicago.
Oh, this is how we get back to the
Tribute
Satanics. I was like,
so we used to think, shout out to Tracy, shout out to Doug, because we did our show from there.
Yeah.
And their 10-year party was killer. They're always throwing up the horns. And we never paid it any attention, because, it could be
It's
anything.
like rock
It's just
out.
some cool rock and roll shit, right?
Yeah. But no, it's a nod for them.
Let me tell you something, man.
It's like
Knowledge is
okay. People throwing up okay signs.
knowledge is the greatest gift, Brad. So benefit proceeds from this beer.
That's ridiculous that you're saying that on this episode.
Listen, man. Proceeds from this beer. The Applewood Adversary Smoke Bot are to unveil a stunning sculpture of Snaketivity that will be displayed. Snaketivity.
Okay.
That'll be displayed down in Springfield. They're raising funds for a satanic sculpture to be raised in Springfield with this beer, man.
All right.
So, I mean, I'm kind of like, I'm not unsure that they're devil worshippers now. Right? Like, so I'm talking to my homeboy Dan from CBG, right? Because, he's got a lot of buddies. He's like, dude, worshiping Satan isn't really about worshiping Satan. It's really about politics and plurality and choice of religion. You just, you might happen to kill some babies and drink their blood, but it's about politics.
Okay.
And I'm like, dude, what the fuck is going on? Oh, but that's what this beer was for, to raise funds for.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had the Satanic Bible at one point. What's his? I forget the dude's name that wrote it. Is it Levitt or? It's not very good. I'll leave it at that. I forget his name.
Applewood Smoke Bot.
Levitt.
When you look into the Satanic Temple, there's different chapters. And Chicago happens to be one of the chapters.
Okay.
But yeah, they talk about how, and there's some truth in this. There are state-run organizations. The Satanic Temple of Chicago is a nonprofit, by the way. There are state organizations.
Well, aren't all churches?
Yeah, all churches are. Yeah. But there's always an emphasis on where, you got a quote from the Bible down here by your state capitol, or you got a sculpture dedicated to Jesus. Well, wherever that resides, we need to have something that talks about Satan in those places.
But it goes. All right, I don't need that.
All right, man. But anyway,
You can't. I will say you can't have one with the other. So a quote about Jesus or God would, of course, always have to include that because you can't have the good without the evil. So it would have it, right? It's not a person or a thing. It's a state of mind. So.
Sunny days wouldn't mean as much if it wasn't for rain,
right?
Brad,
That's all we're saying. We should not drink 17% beer before we start recording.
All right.
But then,
that's why that's my guy. He gets us out of these fucking topics. Yeah.
But then from Publican, our boy is a part of this, right? Beer Adam.
Yeah, Beer Adam.
That was the tease in the beginning.
Oh yeah, it's a collaboration with Beer Adam. Yeah.
The Applewood.
Adam Vavrick.
The Applewood.
So I couldn't get a beer in this joint. This is the busiest day they've had all year. Their dock is built. Their patio is built.
Yeah.
We're in this joint for like 10 minutes. We're like, we gotta go. They're having too much fun. We can't get a beer. Right. More than anything, we'd like a beer in it, and the line's too long.
Throw up your horns and get served.
But Adam was rocking the. He was rocking the. What do you call that thorn thing that Jesus had on?
Yeah.
He's rocking that.
All right.
I just thought this was all some punk rock shit until I read all this. So I was like, I think it's a little more than that.
All right. You're the wrong place, wrong time kind of thing.
I was asking my homeboy Dan, I was like, so if you're in the Satanic Temple, could you really be a Christian that really just wants politics to just be not as one-sided, and that's why you joined it? He's like, no, if you joined the Satanic Temple, it's probably because you worship the devil. It's probably because you worship the devil.
Yeah, you don't join for.
You don't
just
join
casual, like kind of what the cause is, but I'm not. It's a commitment.
FoBAB is coming up.
Yeah. So on to events.
Yeah, man.
FoBAB 2 weeks away.
FoBAB is 2 weeks away.
November 7th, 8th, right? Or 8th and 9th.
8th and 9th. 1 week earlier this year. Over 200 breweries, 2 sessions, 2 days.
Okay.
We're probably going to make an appearance at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this week also the week that Dovetail has the Kolsch coming out?
Right on.
Is it this week or next week? I forget.
The Kolsch? I'm not sure.
Double check this. But yeah.
While Brad's double checking that, another cool event this weekend that's going to start Saturday, 1 p.m. ish, is Heavy Metal. Heavy Metal is all the GABF award winners are going to be on tap at Peace, Chicago's winningest brew pub.
Okay.
So $50 will get you samples of all 10 or 11 winners, and then unlimited pizza from noon to 4 on Saturday. That sounds like a hoot.
Yeah.
Brad.
Yeah, Thursday is Dovetail's first Kolsch.
Right on.
So they're releasing that. I think they're going to have a little event. I might stop by Friday and try it, but I can't make it tomorrow.
Right on. Also this week, is that this weekend, the 25th through the 27th?
Yeah.
Yeah. At Patty Long's, man. Unfilterized, unpastured, Pilsner Urquell is back.
Nice.
Now, this is part of the Miller Coors portfolio here. They distribute it here. But Pilsner Urquell is the world's first Pilsner. And then this unfiltered version is totally different from what you see in the cans. And then they actually fly these over, man. It's like $1,000 a keg to fly it over. And it takes on this hybrid like Pilsner wheat ale vibe that's just big, fluffy, aromatic. It's really nice, right?
Cool.
It's if you haven't had it in this format, and then there's 4 different ways to serve it, in these big gorgeous mugs, but then 4 different ways to pour it, So it really shows you different expressions of this one Pilsner. It's really good.
Nice.
That's at Patty Long's, that bar that sits on Diversity on a residential block. It's like house, bar.
Yeah.
House. It's really cool. Yeah.
Nice.
Nick sucks.
In your notes.
Chicago Brewseum is this weekend.
Oh, cool.
They're doing the Chicago Culture Beer Summit.
Nice.
Yeah, so this is a national event. It's a partnership with the Smithsonian. There's like 4 or 5 different speaking engagements, all different topics. You should go to their website to check out what's what. And like, I know one's about couples, one's about diversity. There's a launch party at Goose Warehouse.
Oh.
Yeah, there's one about women in beer.
Okay.
And how these,
is that the diversity event?
No. There's a female hot pickers in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
It's like a tribute to them, and I think each event's kind of gonna have like a signature beer that they're gonna serve for it.
Okay.
So this is the Chicago Brew Museum, which sounds like it's a museum dedicated just to Chicago beer history.
That's awesome.
So that's this weekend, all weekend. So the open is at Goose, the close is a dinner at Big Goat, at Girl and the Goat.
Okay.
Not Little Goat.
Big Goat.
Big Goat.
Nice. Stephanie Eyes are getting 2 plugs
Man,
in this
she
episode.
She don't fuck around, man. And she's got that Calabra.
Oh yeah, the Peruvian goat place.
Oh, dude.
I haven't gone. You gone?
She's got Duck Goat. I didn't eat. I sat outside by the pool.
Okay.
It's
There's
quite
a pool.
Dude, Stephanie Iser, Iron Chef. Stephanie Iser,
like a
you,
full
Brad.
pool or like
it's
like
not,
a kiddie
it's
pool.
It's not quite Olympic size pool, but
Okay.
but it's a rooftop pool
Oh shit.
for sure. Yeah.
Nice.
Um,
Well, then the last thing in the news this week, Founders got way in trouble again, or continued trouble. This is the ongoing ridiculousness of Founders.
Man, I don't know what to say about these boys, man, because they're, Founders is in Grand Rapids, which is halfway between Detroit. It's equal distance Detroit and Chicago.
Right. So this is the Detroit Founders that got in trouble, or the manager at the Detroit location.
Yeah, so
right?
they're being sued for discrimination and,
Yeah.
prejudice against this black guy that worked there.
Right. Well, they don't know he's black.
And then it comes out today, a deposition leaks, and they're asking one of the Founders managers, hey, did you know the guy was black? And the guy's playing like all sorts of dumb, like, I don't really know what black is. I don't see color. So they're throwing him questions like, hey.
Right. This is, if anyone else seen the old Colbert Report, he would always say he doesn't see color. So, but the guy was like, he didn't know if Michael Jordan was black, if Obama was black.
Yeah, you don't know if Barry O's black. I mean, America's a very race-driven society.
But they do know if their beer is black.
They know their beer's black. And then, fucking 48 hours later, they're announcing they're throwing a black party for all their black beers. I'm like, I hate the fuck out of you guys right now, man. You guys suck. And, I used to rock with Founders hard, too, man. I always thought, the story was cool, because they were on
days was good.
They're on their deathbed, let's say, 2000-ish, and then they just decided to change the format because they were one of those rock bottom stylistically they were rock bottom, like brown ale, red ale, porter. And then when that shit started to belly up, they were like, let's just make beers that we like to drink. And that's when you saw the double troubles and these big barley wines, and these
breakfast stout.
You know what I mean? Hey, let's take a barrel that had whiskey and then had Canadian syrup, and let's put our stout in that. You start to see a change in them, right? And then they sold out to the Spaniards, and now they instead of saying, hey, we hired some assholes to run our business, we're kind of saying, oh no, you knew we were assholes when you signed up, because if you look at your employee agreement, it says that if some racist shit happens to you, you can't come after us. It's in your fucking agreement when we hired. Like, who the fuck comes up with these practices?
Crazy. So yeah, Founders lost even more customers, I think, this week.
Yeah, man. So that's what's going on at Founders.
All right. Is that it? We got anything else, or should we get out of here?
Shout out to ABV Chicago. They're doing a fantasy draft for FoBAB this year.
Okay.
So there's 10 or 12 folks in it. It's kind of fun. It's like you get weighted on, gold medal, gold, silver, bronze is the weight system. And it's a lot of fun. Little side notes. The brewery that's won the most medals in FoBAB history since 2006-ish. And no surprises, Goose Island.
Okay.
Right behind them is Flossmoor Station. Putting in that work. We're talking 04 to 09.
Yeah, in those Brian Simcoe days.
Exactly. Yeah.
He was bringing the thunder for them.
Yeah, and then you get into the Lost Abbeys and the Three Floyds, but seeing Goose and Flossmoor Station on the list kind of reminded you hey.
Remind you Flossmoor Station exists.
It reminds you that Flossmoor Station is a thing. Yeah, Goose got drafted number 12 in this thing. I think Rev was the number 1 overall pick.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good concept by the ABV boys.
Cool.
Speaking of Goose Island, let's talk a little bit about Josh Knoll, who's the writer for the Tribune.
Oh, okay.
Hey, so Josh Knoll, Goose Island had their immediate preview. We were there. If Brad was there. If I was there. If Brad was in town, Brad would have been there. Yeah. But this is something they do every year. It's a tradition like no other because this shit kicks off a month before the bottles come out.
Year 2 tradition.
They've been doing this for a while.
Oh, okay.
They've been doing this for a while. I want to say my first one of these might have been at Mindy Siegel's joint, Hot Chocolate. So I would say 2015-ish.
Okay.
So this was the first year prop. This might have been this might have been Cherry Rye.
Cool.
Cherry Rye era. So they've been doing it for a little bit, and it always rotated, which I liked about it. Oh, so anyway, they had it this week, and apparently Josh wasn't invited. And then he proceeds Josh Knoll from the Tribune. He proceeds to have one of the 3 greatest meltdowns on Twitter rant history about how fucked up it is that he's blackballed by Goose Island and that he wasn't invited to this fucking media dinner.
Right. I hope it ended with someone from Goose being like, "Yeah, we invited you. Check your spam."
I mean, I don't even know where to start with this thing, man. So this thing's no bullshit, 40 fucking tweets about how, oh well, I've been such a good ambassador for you. I wrote this fucking book for you, and how dare you invite other people and not invite me?
You wrote this book for yourself, but
yeah. I'd like to dive into some of the better quotes.
Okay.
But it says, he asked Goose, could he come to this party? Goose was like, hey, I'm sorry, there's limited access. We don't think you're the best fit for this event. And, every year there are limited seats. We have to make difficult decisions on who we can invite. And then Josh is just kind of like, all right, so let me back up, right? Josh Knoll, and there's been several times, on a personal level, I'll go to a party, Chicago Beer Geek, Chicago Beer Pass. I go to a party, and they'll say, hey, come to our media preview of this thing. We go to the thing. There's 10 fuckers there. We're 2 of the 10 fuckers. 2 minutes after the thing ends, the fucking Tribune has their story already up about the thing we went to.
Right.
There's countless examples of that, right? So that's A. And then B, the Tribune has 1 million fucking followers. He's got the loudest horn if we're talking about beer. He's got a column about food and dining, but he mostly talks about beer. If this were really about your company getting access to an event that other people had access to, just fucking somebody else from your company and keep it moving. You wrote a book about these guys. Yeah. So clearly you had conversations with them to write this book. It just seemed like, my girlfriend from high school was really mad at me. And she happens to work at the Tribune, and she's throwing a full-on fucking bitch fit.
Yeah.
It is the funniest shit ever. But, I mean, Josh is cool. But this shit is hilarious. Like, dude, you're having a full-on meltdown because you didn't get invited to a fucking party?
It's pretty good. Probably got more views on those tweets than if he actually went and he reviewed the beers.
Yeah. He's probably going to sell a few more of those books, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it probably works out in his favor.
I hope it doesn't come down. I hope everyone checks it out because it's a full-on rant. It's great. Yeah. Yeah. What else? Oh, when I was at down in Kankakee, I tried a few beers from Trillium, and they're okay.
They're just okay?
They're okay. I mean, they're
not.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I had.
Screw all other haze. These are the best in the world.
Yeah, one of them was the flagship beer. It was Congress Street, right? It was Trillium, and then there was one other crew. Trillium and give me 2 shakes here, Brad.
Do you think the Juice and Beezer are still?
That's what I'm trying to tell you, man.
Treating it better.
Trillium cutting tiles. It was a double IPA with raw wildflower honey. That was a Trillium offering at 8.5%, and the other one was Congress Street, which was Trillium's flagship beer. These are good beers, but and I never had them before, but yeah, the stuff that Alarmist is pumping out, the stuff that Corridor's pumping out, the stuff
are
that
just as good, better.
It's just as good. Yeah.
All right. That's it.
Yeah, that's it for news.
And with screw you, Trillium.
I mean, but Chicago should be proud because those beers stand up, not just in that award show endeavor, but I mean, just on a taste test level, man. These beers, Chicago beers, stand up to just about any beers I've had. I've had the Monkish joints before. All those cats that don't enter those contests, these beers in Chicago are holding their own against those beers.
Yeah, so there's reasons they're winning. So.
For sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, Nick's probably going to take it easy this week. But if you're out and about, where can people find you, get in touch?
Right on, man. I'm on Twitter at Nicosio.
And I'm on Twitter at BRAD, Chicago Beer Pass on Twitter, Instagram. Always throwing up lots of stories on there as well. And then all the episodes get posted on chicagobeerpass.com. And we'll be back next week with the Rev interview. Take care.
Cheers.